Hey there! In this month's edition of The Economist dated June 19, 2021, there was an article that looked at the new type of bank robbers operating in cyberspace. It explores the fact that banks are at risk from hackers from rogue states. Hacking methods involve phishing, ransomware and jackspotting. The cost of such breaches can be sizable. If you are looking for more information on cybercrime, continue listening on as we go through the article. The new bank robbers. Talk to bankers and some will tell you that when it comes to cybercrime, they are second only to the armed forces in terms of the strength of their defenses. And yet trawl the dark web, as Intel 471, an intelligence firm, did on behalf of The Economist in May, and it is obvious that attempts to breach those walls are commonplace. One criminal was detected trying to recruit insiders within America's three biggest banks, JP Chase, Bank of America and Wells Fargo, offering a 7 to 8 figures weekly payment to authorize fraudulent wire transfers. Another was auctioning the details of 30M accounts at Bank Millat in Iran, a country of 83 million. Such activity represents the handiwork of a new breed of bank robber. Forget the hold UPS of yore. Today's smartest hackers are likely to be backed by rogue states, such as North Korea and, to a lesser extent, Iran, or tolerated by countries such as Russia and China. They benefit from unprecedented resources. As well as attempting to empty accounts, they also target data for insider trading. As one of the first industries to offer online transactions, banks have been fending off hackers since the dawn of the Internet. They spend more on cybersecurity than any other sort of firm, and foil many attempted thefts. Nonetheless, since 2016, no industry has suffered more from attacks than banks, see chart on next page. Speaking to Congress in May, Jane Fraser, who runs Citigroup, a Wall Street giant, called hacks the biggest threat to America's financial system. Jamie Dimon of JP Chase has said they could become an act of war. The result is that banks are under constant pressure to prepare for the worst. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, says the head of cybersecurity at a central bank. The bankers need to know the methods and motives of their enemies. What have they learned, and can they remain a step ahead? As in other industries, attempts to rob banks online generally start with phishing, or tricking an employee into downloading a benign-looking software, known as a Trojan, that creates a backdoor for other viruses to infect the company's systems. The ruses can be elaborate. In 2019, when hackers infiltrated Red Bank, a network connecting Chile's ATM system, they faked a lengthy hiring process, complete with several rounds of video interviews, just to fool one victim into downloading and running a Trojan. Once the backdoor is installed, the hackers have numerous modus operandi. In the early to mid-2010s, a popular tactic was to alter banks' databases to inflate balances on existing accounts in order to drain them with fraudulent online transfers. Another was to steal the passwords of employees authorized to access SWIFT, the interbank messaging system that banks use for international transfers, in order to make transfers to the robbers' own bank accounts. In the world's biggest cyber heist, in 2016, thieves transferred funds from an account the Bangladesh Central Bank held at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York to banks in the Philippines, Sri Lanka, and other parts of Asia. They stole $81 million. As in other businesses, ransomware attacks are on the rise. But banks are exposed in other ways too. One example is jackpotting, where malware manipulates ATMs into spitting out lots of cash, accessible to fake cards, even if no funds exist. Thieves then hire packs of money mules, typically from local mafias, to stage multiple withdrawals at once. Using such methods, in 2018 criminals got away with $13.5 million from India's Cosmos Bank, through 15,000 withdrawals in just 2 hours. Sometimes it is data, not money, that the robbers are after. The latest trick is to steal financial market data from within banks in order to facilitate insider trading. A survey by VMware, a cybersecurity firm, of 126 financial firms worldwide found that 51% saw a rise in such attacks last year. Portfolio managers in America and Britain that were recently breached saw suspicious activity whenever they were about to trade, says Tom Kellerman, the firm's strategy boss. The multiplicity of methods is compounded by the malevolence of those involved. Originally heists were mostly conducted by private thieves from former Soviet states. They included Karbanik, a notorious syndicate that stole over $1 billion from 100 banks after 2013, its masterminds were arrested in 2018. But since America cut North Korea out of its financial system in 2017, the hermit state has doubled down on its relationship with criminal gangs as a way of making profit and evading sanctions, says Michael D'Ambrosio, a top investigator in America's Secret Service. Variously named Lazarus, Blunerov, or Beagle Boys, such state-sponsored entities have access to vastly more resources and personnel than mere criminals. Their members often live undercover in Russia and China, says Mark Arena of Intel 471. Moreover, state-backed North Korean outfits have teamed up with Russian-speaking private gangs. One of the latter, which operates an infamous Trojan for hire called TrickBot, provides access to New York-infected computers. Some cyber experts were shocked recently when they found that it had been used in conjunction with North Korean malware in recent attacks. The costs of all this are unclear. Advisen, a consultancy, reckons that banks have lost about $12 billion to cybercrime since 2000, around 3/4 of which has come from data breaches. Studies suggest every hour of business interruption costs a bank $300,000 on average. A typical data breach causes losses of $6 million. But banks usually forbid staff from discussing such a CID 425 acts, and the reported numbers dramatically understate the problem. Though many institutions are obliged to report serious hacks to regulators, and, sometimes, customers, rules change frequently and vary across jurisdictions, meaning disclosure is haphazard. Moreover, initial losses can be dwarfed by second-order effects. The average incident puts 27% of customers at high risk of ending their relationships with a targeted firm and reduces companies' share prices by 5–7% on average, says John Meyer of Cornerstone Advisors, a consultancy. Not everything is going the criminal's way, though. Forensic firms are doing a good job of attributing attacks to specific hacking groups, and intelligence agencies at linking web handles to real people. Some gangs are neutralized or caught. In September, the American Army launched a cyber offensive that weakened TrickBot, the North Korea-backed Trojan. In January, police arrested the thieves running Emotet, another botnet allegedly responsible for at least $2.5 billion in theft since 2014. For protection, banks hire friendly white hat hackers to probe their own defenses. The biggest are spending more. In June, Bank of America said it would invest $1 billion annually to counter threats. A survey by Deloitte found that financial firms spent an average 0.48% of their revenue on cybersecurity last year, up from 0.34% in 2019. Applied to the industry's total revenue in 2020, that would make $4.23 billion worth in spending in America alone. But things may get worse because, firstly, banks' networks are becoming costlier to secure. We recognize that we're never going to prevent everything, says the cyber chief of a top American bank. So we have to have layered defenses that assume multiple defenses will fail. The multiplication of internet-connected devices, the digitalization of banking, and remote working are offering new points of entry for attackers. Secondly, the criminals have more resources at their disposal. Security experts say banks mainly focus on expelling intruders before they have time to loot. Yet, says one, soon hackers are likely to use artificial intelligence to shorten an attack from start to finish, the kill chain in the jargon. Cyber gangs are also growing rich. Maze, one of them, announced its retirement in November, after pocketing over $100 million in ransoms in a year. Such hackers can count on thriving secondary markets to monetize their loot. On Torres, an eBay look-alike that The Economist recently visited, credit card details go for $25 a pop or 4 for the price of 3 for $4.99. A tutorial offers help in building phishing websites copying that of Barclays, a British bank. Purchases are paid in cryptocurrencies that can be cashed out in bank accounts opened with fake IDs. A driving license from Tennessee costs $150, for instance. The new bank robbers are as criminally entrepreneurial as ever.